Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with Fan TV back at you on the video. At the content, this video, go smash that like button. At the content of this channel, go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, so Ravens training camp day 4 has just wrapped up, right? Well, not just wrapped up earlier today. So let's talk about an injury report, offense, defense, right? And then give my thoughts on, the players that are standing out and whatnot, right? All right. So injury report, not that much has changed, right? Still Keith Kirkwood, Jake Hummel. Two guys that have been out for a little bit. Keith Kirkwood has been a couple of days, right? Jake Hummel has been the entire training camp process. And I think Harbaugh said he had a cut on his hand, right? Now you have your regular pup NFI guys that we mentioned the previous 3 days as well that are also out. Okay. Now new injury did happen during practice. Okay. Ravens rookie cornerback Bilal Kone was hurt during practice, right? Apparently, there was a collision. At the catch point, he was making a play on defense, right? He was on the ground for a little bit, got up, but did not return to practice. I believe they're calling it like a chest injury somewhere in that area, right? So we'll monitor that. We'll keep an eye on that and see what's happening with Bilal Kone, if he's going to be able to practice in the upcoming days, or is this more a more serious injury? So I'll keep you updated on that, all right? Now, Ravens offense, right? All right, so Ravens offense. One of the standout players today, or one of the players that I saw mentioned from reporters a couple of times was wide receiver Tez Walker, right? Now, Tez Walker is a guy that, he may not have the biggest opportunity this season, right? With DeAndre Hopkins, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. But that's not to say that if injury happens, players get tired, he gets in the game, that he can't make plays, right? So for Tez Walker today, right, he had a sliding catch from a pass from Cooper Rush. He also had a 30-plus yard reception down the field from Lamar Jackson, being guarded by Nate Wiggins, right? So for Tez Walker, these are great plays, right? And he's made multiple plays so far through these first 4 days of training camp, all right? So this isn't just a one-off thing. I mean, we even can go back to minicamp OTAs, right? Tez Walker's name was being mentioned, right? So when the Ravens drafted Tez Walker, they wanted a receiver to take top of the defense, stretch the defense, right? And that ended up being Rashad Bateman's role the last couple of years, and really last year as well. And Rashad Bateman is great at that. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's really turned into a really, really good deep ball, deep threat receiver. But I think if you ask the Ravens, right, what is Rashad Bateman's main role, his signature quality, I don't think, deep ball reception is what they would say, right? So they still need a guy who can specialize in the deep ball, right? Tez Walker could be that guy, right? I love Bateman. I'm a big Bateman supporter. So he can do a lot of things on the field, right? What he does best, I think, is, that intermediate, underneath stuff, move the chain, stuff like that, right? But, he was a great deep ball threat last year. But, a guy like Tez Walker, if he continues to step up, some of those shots can be for him, right? We saw him and Lamar Jackson connect in the Giants game, right? I think it was first touchdown for Tez Walker last year, right? So that was great to see. All right, so I like hearing about a second-year player that maybe didn't get a lot of time first year, really showing up and impressing in his second training camp, right? They say that the biggest jump you make as an NFL player is from year 1 to year 2, right? So we'll see what Tez Walker can do in year 2. All right. Now, they didn't say too much else about the offense. That doesn't necessarily mean the offense was bad or anything like that. But one thing I do want to say, right, Cordell Willing, if you go to his Twitter, right, he's doing like daily recaps of training camp. Right? He's actually there, beat report and whatnot. He has been mentioning that the Ravens are having a little bit of an issue with false starting. Now, this has been over the last couple of days. I can't speak for what he said today exactly. But over the first 3 days, the Ravens have had a little bit of an issue with false starting, okay? Now, Todd Monken has kind of said that they're working on some new cadences, some new rhythms to the offense that could all be a part of it. Todd Monken made a comment saying that why can't the Ravens be an elite team when it comes to cadence, right? So I think they're working some kinks out, right? We'll see what happens. I remember last year when they were false starting, they were making players run a lap. I don't think they're doing that again this year, but, I wouldn't mind to see that either, right? But, we'll see what happens from there, right? But that is something I did want to point out. All right. Defense, okay. So, Jalen Armour-Davis, interception today, all off of Cooper Rush, right? On a deflection by Sanusi Kane, right? So, Sanusi Kane tips the pass. Jalen Armour-Davis comes down with the football, right? So, Jalen Armour-Davis is a guy that he needs to make plays, continues to make plays, right? He's had a couple of pass breakups over these several days of training camp. And Sanusi Kane, the Ravens are going to need a guy to play the third safety role. It's going to be between Kane and Bo Braid. Now, this role might not be as big as it has been in the past for the Ravens. The Ravens have so much talent in the secondary. But I think it is a role that the Ravens still want to have available to them. They like playing three safeties, right? So Kane or Brady has an opportunity to impress. Because if they don't, the Ravens will sign a veteran safety, right? The Ravens will say, hey, look, these first couple of weeks of training camp, we gave you guys a chance. I'm not really seeing it. We're going to get somebody else. They've done it before. They can do it again. But if Kane, Bo Brady make plays, they hold on to that spot, right? So good to see Lucy Kane pop up. All right. There was a one-on-one section of practice, right? Sounded like that was kind of dominated by the defense, okay, if we're being quite honest, right? Kyle Hamilton pass breakups on Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. So they said the Likely ball was deep. The Andrews ball was more of a short pass, okay? Pass breakups on them. Jair Alexander, Jess Rubeck reported that they targeted Jair Alexander 3 times early in practice. No completions, right? 0 completions on that, so 0 for 3, okay? Jair Alexander continues to be a standout corner. There's no really surprise there, right? It's not like a shocking statement when we say that, right? So Jair Alexander has not only brought the energy, the juice, he's brought his game with him too. So, it's early in training camp. The biggest thing that I can hope for with Jair Alexander really has nothing to do with the practice field. I guess it kind of has to do with the practice field, but it's just health, right? If he's healthy, this Ravens secondary is top notch, right? So that's the main thing I'm looking for. Can you stay healthy for a full 17 game season plus the playoffs, right? Because Ravens will make that run in the playoffs. Okay. All right. Marlon Humphrey, great coverage on Rashad Bateman. Bateman almost came down with the catch, but still Marlon Humphrey was there step for step with him, right? And got it out of there, right? So this Ravens secondary unit, very, very talented. This to me doesn't give me any pause or cause for concern as far as the offense goes. I know Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, I know these guys are elite separators, right? They're just going against really, really good defenders, And listen, everything that gets reported at training camp as far as the tweets is not everything that happens, right? They can't go down and type every single thing that happens, right? They can't do that. They type out what stands out to them, right? So, I'm sure that the Ravens offense had their fair share of completions and whatnot, and, the receivers making plays, things like that. I'm sure all of that happened. Right, but the defenders are standing out, and we gotta give them credit for that. Okay, and then lastly, we wrapping it up with the kicking competition, right? Once again, it doesn't seem like John Horley kicked today, but Tyler Luke did kick, and Tyler Luke remains perfect. All right, again today, 7 for 7, including a field goal about 42 yards, right? So all of these kicks today were inside of 42 yards. They said, but he's making them. The chip shots are the easy ones. He's making them, right? And then we also, if you saw the Ravens video on Twitter, I talked about it also in my training camp video yesterday. Tyler Luke made a field goal from 63 yards, okay? The Ravens said it's from 68 because they're counting the distance behind the goal as well when it goes through the uprights. He made a 63-yard field goal with 5 yards to spare, 5 yards plus to spare, right? So monster leg, okay? Very, very strong leg from Tyler Luke, okay? And if you could put strong leg and accurate, maybe the Ravens have the next great kicker, right? But we're only 4 days to training camp. We shall see. All right. But I will say that he has more than a leg up in the competition. No pun intended, I guess. He has more than a leg up in the competition over John Holland. I would say that he's significantly in the lead right now. And that's no fault of John Holland's, right? He's only missed 1 field goal. But it's the fact that Tyler Luke is still perfect, and he's made a kick from 60-plus yards. Right, so he's doing everything in his power to say, "I am the team starting kicker," and that's what the Ravens want. They spent a draft pick on him. They want the draft pick to win the job. Right now, Tyler Luke is winning the job. Right, so all right, so that's gonna wrap it up for me today, man. Talking about the Ravens training camp, day 4. All right, defense stood out, great secondary. Right, I believe the pads come on starting next week. So now when the pads come on, we'll start hearing more about the defensive linemen, right? Because this is where the trenches start to shine. Maybe some of the old linemen as well. But, offensive line, defensive line, and shorts and helmets, you can't really tell much. But when the pads come on, we'll know more, right? So that's what we're really looking forward to as well, all right? And then on offense, Tez Walker taking that step, all right? Taking advantage of his opportunities. He knows his opportunities might be few and far between, but when he gets them, he's going to take advantage of them, right? So I love to see that, right? But I'm going to end it here. That's my thoughts today on Ravens Training Camp Day 4. Give me your thoughts in the comments. It's Gabriel, Fan TV. I'm out.